Hey everybody, sorry for the delay in getting this review out. My wife and I both got pretty sick last week. Really gotta stop licking those doorknobs.
Remember, licking doorknobs is illegal on other planets.
Better late than never though, right? I feel like I say that a lot on this channel. Once again, just like the Mario movie, if you're a fan of this series, I would ignore the critics on this one. Hey everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions, and today I'm gonna give you my final review of Spookto! Shit, it's November. Today I'm going to give you my review of the long-awaited big screen adaptation of one of the biggest indie horror video game franchises of all time, Five Nights at Freddy's. But before we get started, you know exactly what to do. Please, by the end of the video, if I've earned it, leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell so that you never miss any of my new content. Now let's get into it. So with this big screen adaptation of this insanely popular franchise, the main security guard here is Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson. When we meet up with Mike, his life is pretty much in shambles. He's the sole caretaker of his younger sister Abby, played by Piper Rubio. Their mom has passed, dad is long out of the picture, and Mike is just trying his best to make ends meet, going from job to job, and trying to take care of his sister without losing their childhood home. But thanks to his anger and his distrusting nature due to a traumatic event from his childhood, he's really been unable to hold down a job. And this is all made so much worse by his complete bitch of an aunt, played by Mary Stuart Masterson, who is doing everything she can to rip custody away from him and take Abby. So, desperate, he goes to see a career counselor, played by one of the horror goats and the best live-action Shaggy of all time, Matthew Lillard.
Are you challenging me? Now you gotta die.
Who sets him up with a job at an old closed-down pizzeria, Freddy Fazbear's. There, Mike meets a local cop that patrols the beat around there, Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lail. It's not long before some creepy shit goes down, and Mike realizes that there is way more to this place than meets the eye.
I think there's a lot more than meets the eye with you.
Including animatronics possessed by the spirits of dead children. Now before I get started with the full review, let me say that with this entire franchise, all the spin-offs, sequels, everything, I've only played the very first game.
What?
So all I really know about this franchise is what was presented here. A security guard takes a job at a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff and has to survive attacks from 4 creepy as hell animatronics.
Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, Freddy.
I know literally nothing else about the lore, backstory, even character names, so if you're looking for an in-depth analysis on how this differs from the games and what they brought in, yada yada, you're gonna be shit out of luck. But the movie stands on its own, so I was excited to review it. And it's no surprise that lately I really haven't been agreeing with critics all that much, especially with video game movies.
Am I so out of touch?
So when I saw that this had awful review scores and really great audience scores, I figured I was probably going to enjoy it. And as a critic who played this game a lot on his iPad in high school and is obsessed with horror movies, I can say that I did enjoy it. And this is based off of a game where all you do is switch between screens and close doors and wait for a jump scare, so I really wasn't expecting that much. So all the additions to the lore and the backstories that they gave to the main characters, it all worked for me, honestly.
It's gonna get a lot worse.
Mike's backstory and inner demons add a lot to his character, and the fact that the entire world is against him and trying to take his sister away just makes him all the more relatable, which is helped by Josh Hutcherson's knack for always being able to play a likable, kind-natured guy, even though he's got some traumas and anger issues here. So I can say that he definitely was the right choice for the lead. Piper Rubio is great as Abby too. I thought she brought the right amount of levity to the movie, and I'm not gonna lie, even though it's not written with the most depth, her relationship with Mike brings a ton of heart into the film.
Aww.
I mentioned Mary Stuart Masterson already, and though she does a great job of playing up that Karen archetype,
What do you want?
the movie kind of writes her as a one-note character that has zero depth, and she's really just there to be a catalyst for Mike to take the Freddy's job and then be a bit of an obstacle later. Elizabeth Lail's Vanessa was kind of the same. She doesn't really have that much depth or development, is really just there to spout exposition, explaining all the history and everything to Mike so that we, the audience, can understand what's going on.
Welcome to Freddy's. Have you met them yet?
Met who?
Last but not least, definitely not least, we have Matthew Lillard.
I was just calling to see if that job that you offered was still available.
Yes. The security guard.
I gotta say, even though he's truly fantastic and plays up that creepy skis factor, I really would like to see more of him and have more of a presence for him in the script, so I really hope he comes back for the sequel. Now that I talked about the performances and gotten those out of the way, let's talk about the main thing that I'm seeing everybody talk about regarding this movie. Is it any scary? Well, to answer that properly, let's think about the target audience for this video game. It's kids. Yes, it's technically horror, but this franchise has always been known for a stepping stone for younger audiences to step into the world of horror, not traumatize them, and it did so through the use of jump scares and a creepy atmosphere. And for the most part, I think they did a really good job of translating that tone to the big screen. The jump scares are there and just as effective as the game, and if you listen closely, you can even hear that iconic screech a few times, but I really do have to applaud the tone that this movie keeps throughout. Yes, thanks to Abby, there's levity here and there, and there's some visual gags with the animatronics, along with a cameo or two from YouTubers that are very big in the Five Nights at Freddy's world.
Where to? Why do I always get the weirdos?
But for the most part, this keeps a pretty eerie tone throughout, especially when we dive into the mystery behind the possessed animatronics and really dive into what caused Mike's PTSD. Yeah, the scares here are tame for the most part, but it's a PG-13 movie based on a mostly kid-related franchise, and with that in mind, it did a pretty decent job keeping up that tone that I mentioned.
I'm real scared.
I'm scared too.
I'm petrified.
Giving a few iconic jump scares reminiscent of the game, a couple of very brief moments of blood and gore that made me audibly say, "Oh shit!" and a reveal that I thought was incredibly effective, even if the twists and turns that get us there are a little clunky. The cinematography, score, and visual effects are all really strong here too, especially when it comes to the animatronics made by the Jim Henson Company, which was just a home run.
Home run!
And as far as I could tell, they were practical throughout the entire movie. Any CGI that's used was used very sparingly. So overall, though it could have had a bit more of a bite in terms of the horror, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie and how well it came together. Even if the twists and reveals in the final act don't add up as well as they should, and the movie could have benefited from a little less time spent on Mike's backstory and a little more time spent on the animatronics. And that's my review of Five Nights at Freddy's. If you like this review, you know exactly what to do. I asked earlier, please leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell so that you never miss any of my new content. You can also find the links to my social media in the description below, and while you're down there, leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the movie, and if you want more of my content, click or tap on these cards right here. They'll take you to my review of Saw 10, or just over to my channel where you can check out my reviews, my shorts, and my old shit.